Alright, so welcome to this video. Today we're using ZBrushCoreMini. We're gonna create I'm gonna see what I can create in a small amount of time. I'm not gonna try to spend too long with the basic shape for this, but I'm gonna try to see what I can create that might be visually interesting. So for this, ZBrushCoreMini usually starts with a perfect sphere, and there's generally going to be a center point. I can either draw symmetrically or by itself, and for the most part, symmetrical is just as what you would expect it to be. I see the different facets of the head where I can visually view things from, so I can keep track of it right up here in this upper corner here, as well as being able to scale and rotate around as I need to. Alright, so ZBrush is a fun software, but with all sculpting, with all sorts of drawing and things like that, having a good sketch usually starts out as one of the ways I usually go. So we're just going to switch over to Photoshop here. There's nothing too crazy. You can use whatever software you got. I'm just going to create a file that, let's just go inches. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this just as a basic idea for creating just a quick 3D topographical view of what I'm going to be doing. And I'm just trying to sketch it out. The 3D views, front, back, side. And usually the more views you would have, the easier it is for you to develop your own language, visually and progressively, for what you got to do. And since I'm starting out with a circle, I'm going to start with a circle shape. So let's throw that right here. Alright, and we're going to get rid of... There we go. So, that being said, let's try to have something fun. So, I want to have a certain shape that I want to try to push. And for this, I'm going to try to create something that has almost like a dueling shape. I think having something right around here like this would be awesome to have. And then something, and just because I want it to have a little bit of flair, I think having just a little bit of a modeled bottom, I think is the way to go with that. And so visually, just coming up with your idea, the back side obviously would be, since we're dealing with these shapes, I'm going to use this color for some of the highlight fill. So I think that would be a good way of doing this. So with this line work fully coming into work, I think this would come through just like this and come around. Interesting shape, has its little ability to have its little bit of a some growth to it. I think having some movement or something inside here would be kind of cool too. So we'll try to develop that image as well. The backside, since we're going to do that, we're going to create some rendering topographical lines. This is pretty much standard, whether you're dealing with a 3D sculpture of a person, just a random shape. Let you be able to sculpt this out real fast. So, on the back side, we're going to do the exact opposite. This guy, I think, needs to be much more on the girthy side. And then we only get to see the little tip here. Doing its thing. I don't think on the back side it needs to have some sort of visual interest here, but I do think it needs to have something just as a nice little, since it is a three-dimensional shape, it might need to have some sort of like textural work just to help define the shape and the movement of the piece. So we're going to make that sort of come around. And if anything, I want to. This would be the place where I'd want to be able to put things like maybe like a signature as well. The side view. This guy I think is going to need to be a little bit more on the squishy side. So, for example, I think this guy, while he's going to be a little bit flatter right here, I think visually, I think this guy needs to come out just about like that. And since this guy really likes to be right around there, I think this guy needs to have like a ridge coming up this length of this body here, right around here. Which leads to that sort of like 3D look to it. And so this is what we're going to try to come up with. It's something that looks like this guy right here. So let's go back to our software. This one's going to take a little bit of time because all my drawings are going to start off with a reference drawing that I've already done, just to have something fun, something to as a quick reference. But this is so you guys can see my process and how we end up going into the software to create something visually interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely think that including this movement out of these spots definitely helps. I think moving some of the clay around so that way it's got this natural sort of feel to it, I think is going to, and leaving some of that in place, I think is going to be key. I think I really love these little clay strip lines for the piece. I won't get much of that when it comes to the 3D print, especially because a lot of this gets right. Like you lose some detail work with a 3D print. It's just going to happen that way. This has a lot more visual language, visual communication than a 3D print ever will. Unless you're dealing with like resin prints, and then with this size, if I was able to make this print, you know, the size that I really would want to be at, I think we could get all this detail work. In a rendering, I can easily create something that really starts to really flow and pop. But I think for the most part, I think we're going to lose a lot of little details. But let's see what I can come up with in the meantime once we get back into this, and then try to see what I can do to make this just really just have a little bit of a character to it that I think it needs. And let's check to see what a gold version of that would look like. Definitely not metallic. I would not do this guy in metallic. And straight plaster I don't think can do it. Definitely not glossy. But I think a little bit of like a marbled look or a more naturalized color I think would work well with this guy. Maybe I can do it in concrete. Concrete would also be another good material for something like this. Yeah. Keep that middle valley smooth. Give this guy a little bit of bring this down in size. Just try to create some small little wonderkin lines here. Oh yes. Lovely. Bring that guy around just like that. Yeah, boys, I think we're on something. Alright. As I think about how I'm going to do this, and I'm going to probably take a couple of these screenshots and then do some more rendering on a 2D scale as I got a little bit of time. I think we're on a good start, and we're going to save this guy, and we're going to see how much more we can push this in part 2. Alright. Catch you guys on the next video.